Okay, and hello and welcome. My name is Martin, and today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at lighting and how to light your area. Now, what I've done is I have made the night, or I've made the sky a night sky. So I've gotten rid of the sun. I've actually sent that down and brought some of the stars out, so then that way it would be dark. And then from there, what I've done is I've started actually adding the lights and the light fixtures themselves. So the thing with lights is that the light itself, the object that you're going to drag over, is going to be just that. It's going to be where the source of the light is. That doesn't mean that it's going to look like it should just be sitting there floating by itself. So we'll talk about how to pick things that look like lamps or shades or things, and how to put the lights in there correctly. Okay. So the other thing I did was also with that vehicle pack that I have, I went ahead and turned one of the cars on, theoretically put the headlamps on and gave it a backlight, and then turned on the back lights themselves, the brake lights. From there, the other thing that I also did was gave these little, I guess they're lamps, like maybe you could imagine like a light bulb or something in there, and allowed them to shine a little bit, so then that way they would give us some light inside the garden. At some point, this area is kind of a little dark. I probably want a little bit more light on there, but we'll see what happens when I get light coming in through the window, and maybe that'll be enough to light it up. If not, I'll put a light out there. From there, I have the interior space, and I wanted to kind of light this a little differently. So what I did with this was I set up what kind of looks like an edge in the ceiling, right, using a geometry. And from there, I attached and I'll show you one of the kind of lights, which is called a rect light, and I use those there. So it's kind of like almost like track lighting, kind of. It gives you the effect of track lighting, right? And I'd probably end up doing it over there to that side. I'm getting a little bit of light leakage uh, from the upstairs down to the bottom stairs, and so we'll take a look at that as well. Over here in this corner, I do have like a almost kind of like a chandelier feeling, or like a hanging light, and I have a lamp here in the corner, which we set up in one of the other scenes, and we're using just the spread light on there. Now, here what I'd like to show you is that I have a well-lit floor, but I don't have the light bulbs themselves are not very noticeable. So if I go to unlit, you can actually see that I do have fixtures up in the ceilings, but at this point they don't have very good lighting in them. So let's go back to lit, and then let's go through this way, and you can actually see how dark the environment is without lighting, right? So this is what the game looks like when you turn them, bring the stars out and turn the lights off. So let's take a quick look at this, and let's go back to here, and let's see how we actually did this. Now, the lamps themselves come from an industrial pack, so I looked up for lights. I just did a dot lookup in my contents folder for lights, and one of the things that came up was, or maybe just light. So there it is. So I got an SM streetlight. If you don't have a very good one, obviously go online, see if you can't find something through the Epic Games launcher, right? So remember to go here and see if there isn't a light pack or a lamp pack that you like. Now, because these are industrial lights, what I did was having been outside in a parking lot and noticing the coloring of the lights, I know that those lights have like an orangey yellow tinge to them. I think those are called sodium lamps or sodium lights. And when you look up there, you actually see two different, that's kind of cool that that's moving. Two different lamps. Now, one of these is a directional light, and that's actually what's giving us the light down there on the floor. And then the other one is to create the effect of the light itself, because whether the light is directional or not, where the light is itself, if I turn that off, it looks weird. It looks like you have light down there on the floor, but if you're looking up at it, it doesn't look like there's a lamp up there. It looks like it's busted, right? So all of a sudden light starts to fill in from right here, right? As opposed to being up there and having that nice shine. So that's why I like using two lamps for this. So you have the one lamp that is And let's see, if I go to lights, it's the pin light or the point light. So the point light is the one that's creating the effect of the lamp itself, right? And then the spotlight or this one right here is the one that's shooting down, right? So if we were to take a closer look at these, the way that I was able to change the color on these was to come, once I've selected the light, I would go into underneath light, and I could change the intensity, right? So because this is a long distance, I actually had to, I think I maxed that out. So then that way it would actually be all the way up. So let's just show you what it looks like as we start to dim it. So for me, it really felt like I needed the full weight of the light there, all 160 CDs of it. From there, as far as the coloring, what I did was if you click on there, you get the color picker again, and I went into the orange range and played around with the values until I created something that on the screen looked like that orangey yellow that you see from these types of lights. From there, what I did was I copied the RGB value, or the red, green, blue value in hexadecimal form. So I came down here and hit Control C to copy. And with that information, I was able to then go back to the other light. So if I'm, let's see, I'm in the directional light. Where's the other one? Probably need to slow down. Let's see. Did I erase it on it? Oh, that's right. I turned it off. I made it. I might have accidentally. Nope, there it is. Okay. Phew. Okay, so I clicked on that, and with that, I did the same thing. I went underneath light, and this is the point light, the one that spreads light out in all directions. And from there, what I did was, again, I went into color, so I clicked here. I pasted the hexadecimal code there, clicked OK, and with that, both of the lights were exactly the same color. Now, once I had one lamp, right, it's easy enough to copy and paste and get the other ones. So you want to select the first lamp, hold Shift on your keyboard to select the second. Wait, is it Shift? I feel like it's Shift. Yep, it's Shift. So hit the first object, hold Shift, grab the next one while you're holding Shift. So then that way it selects both of those, and then grab the lamp. And then you can, let me speed this up a bit. And then you can back up, and if you were to hold, I believe it's Alt, as you drag out, you get a second copy of your lamp. And actually, I do want this, but I feel like I want it back here somewhere. Let's make this go a little bit faster. So as long as you don't click somewhere else on the screen, you will have all three of those things, or those objects, gathered together. We can hit the space bar. I can flip it. So let's go about 90. Whoops, I missed that. Maybe it's 10 degrees. Nope. Might be a bit too far. I'll get closer and then fix it. Anyways, I actually wanted to move this guy back here. So again, if you have them all selected and you don't click anywhere else on the screen, you will have all of them together. So then that way you can move them as a unit. And as you can see, I can scroll through the different tools and get them to, whoops. Okay, so right now I just clicked out somewhere else. So if I want to move them again together, I'm going to have to select them all again. So the lamp is selected. Grabbing, whoops, I don't think that's the light bulb. Let's grab that again. Get somewhere where you can see all of them. Okay, so I've got the lamp. I'm going to hold Shift, grab the next light, and I think that's the next light. So let's see if we can rotate that. I think that's right. And let's look and see where I had the other ones. So they're just a little bit off of the edge, and that one looks like about the same amount off the edge. All right. So if we push play, we get our sodium lights. Let's go down there and check out the last one that we just set up. Okay. And then from there, one of the things I was trying to do was keep equal distance between the lights. So a lot of that was just backing up. So hitting escape, backing up, and kind of eyeballing it. Right. So you can see that there's a bit of a gap here on this one. that's fine. I mean, they don't have to be completely symmetrical, but you could, you know, think that as people are laying down, you know, logically, the tools or the stuff that they would have would already be pre-cut maybe, and you know, they would have certain section lengths that they would get, and then that's you know, there's a lot of symmetry in this sort of stuff. Go out to a parking lot and it's all equal, you know, all the lamps are equal distance from each other. So try for a little bit of that. Again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because I want to go on to like maybe what I did with the cars. So so that was the sodium lamps. Now down here I did the same thing. There's actually a mixture of a couple of different types of lights. So for the backlights, what I did was, again, these are point lights. So I dragged a point light back here and set the light up and started moving it around until it gave me the effect that it felt like it was coming off of the back of the car, right? So a lot of that is just grabbing the light, flipping through. You know, obviously if I left it there, that doesn't look right. So if I move it back, it looks right there. So the other thing would be, let's see, if I pushed it too far in, then we're getting more of the effect at the bottom of the car, and that doesn't look right. Let's click off of the light and see we're not getting much of a shine. You look at the other one and we're getting more like what feels like the light's there, and on this one it's too far into the other mesh that we're not seeing it anymore. So again, I pulled the light and I left it out. It feels counterintuitive, like it feels like you want to stick the light inside the lamp, but don't actually do that. Let's move that up a little bit. And I felt like when I did that, it felt like the light was too high up and I was getting too much of reflection on the back there. So let's lower that just a little bit. Okay, and again, I'm using my transform tool and just kind of easing it. And I can do the same thing left or right, right? So I could look to see if it felt like it was too far in. Obviously now it looks like the tailgate is lit and that doesn't feel right, where that feels a little bit better. Okay. The other thing that you would do with this is by selecting it, you go into its details panel. You can obviously make it brighter. That feels too bright. So what I did was I left it, I think, about 4, if I'm not mistaken, value of 4, and that gave it just enough brightness to be able to get it there. From there, again, I also changed the color until I got that orangey kind of red that we're all familiar with from what the back of a light looks like. For me, there's the colors that I use. So it was 104 on the red, 0 on the green, and 31 on the blue to give it a little bit of orange. The other thing we also do is adjust the amount of distance that the light itself feels like it's going to project. How much, like if it's too small, it's not bright enough, right? So we would start moving this slowly back and forth. Let's go 100. Let's go 200. Right, so now it feels like if you look down here at the bottom, it feels like it's illuminating too much of the area. So let's see what I left the other one at. The other one, I left the other one at 1000. So let's put this one at 1000. Okay, and I guess that's right. Okay, now for the backlight, this right here, this is actually a rec light. So this is the first time that we're using this, and the idea of a rec light is that it shines in one direction and not in the other direction, right? So it feels like on the inside interior where I showed you the ceiling, the outlets that look like track lighting, I'm using the rec lighting also there. So what we were able to do with this is we're able to shape the light. So with the light selected, let's click on the light. I'm going to scroll down into its details panel, and let's go into, where's shape? Right here. So you have source width, source height. So if I want to feel like the light was a little bit taller, we're not feeling too much of the effect here. Let's see what happens if this kind of flips the light a little bit. Right, so we see that the light feels like it's closing up and being more angular. Here it feels like it's spreading more, and actually that's nice. I like the kind of the touch there where you can see the back of the seats there. That looks actually kind of nice. Let's see. I think originally this is at 88. Okay, yeah, and I pushed it all the way back to 90, which is not much more, but you get a little bit more of the effect. So you get the illumination of the back of the truck there. Let's see, we open the barn doors here. We're spreading more of the light out. Okay, so a lot of this is shaping the light, getting the light the right source. So unlike, let's say, like the point light, where all you could do is spread the source out and change its color, here you can do those sorts of things too, but you can also shape the light a little bit better. Now, as far as the coloring, I think I used a slightly different color than the ones that were in the back. Usually this is a kind of like, it's almost the same color red. Sometimes it is the same color red. You might use the same color red if you wanted to. And that's how I got that effect. Now, with the front lights obviously had to be like a bright white because that's what we're used to seeing, and this is also a combination of two lights. So if we were to go in there, we would see that I have both a directional light. So this is very much like what I did with the sodium lamps that were at the front. You can kind of see it there. There it is. Okay, so that's the directional light that's actually inside. Again, I gave it full intensity because we would expect these lights to be very bright, right? People are driving with these lights, so I gave it full intensity on the amount of light that's coming out. I left it white, so everything is 255, 255, 255. As far as the radius, it depends on the vehicle. You know, if I wanted to have, let's say, how much more light is being affected by the outside. Let's see. It's actually changing our length. Okay, so again, this is a, you know, it's a car. You would expect that this lamp would have like a long distance, right? So the more distance we give it, probably the better that we're going to be there. The outside angle, now, you know, most of the time we're not getting this nice of a definition. There's a lot of diffusers that come in the lights themselves. So when you look at it, the one on the left feels more natural than the one on the right. That doesn't look like what we would expect a headlight to look like. So we do need to make a little bit of a difference between the interior cone and the exterior cone. So the exterior cone is going to have like a softer outside to it, right? And the interior cone is going to be very harsh. So if we wanted a spotlight, we could do that. Like if we were in a theater and we had a spotlight, or maybe somebody has a flashlight and they put it to the pin light, we would get that kind of a light source. But for me, I feel that was good. And then the outside light, it depends, you know, if it's a truck, if, you know, what kind of vehicle it might have. It'd be a good thing to start paying attention to these things, you know, as you're out in the real world, thinking about, okay, well, how does a door open? How do lights look? You know, do I have harsh edges? Are they soft edges? Where directionally would that light be pointing? Obviously straight forward, right? So now we have that directional light, and that gives us the two, what would feel like you know, the light coming out being what's being projected. And then the same thing we need to do here, because if we don't have a pin or the point light there, yes, we have the light projecting out, and that looks very, very weird. You know, you have the light, but you don't see the source of where it's coming from. You look at the one that's on the left of the vehicle, I guess on the right of the vehicle, on the driver's side of the vehicle, and that looks more natural. So if we go back and turn this back on, now we have something that feels more like the hood of the car. Again, positioning is everything, so you're going to have to get in there, click, and then you maybe use your location transform tools to get it just right and make it look like that light is right in front of the vehicle. At this point, if we wanted to, you know, we could put an interior light. You know, I mean, that might be something interesting. This would probably be like a rec light, which is now too far away. Let's grab this guy. Let's stick him in here. Let's change its angle. 90 degrees. Bring this up. That is a pretty bright interior light, so we're going to probably make that go down a little bit. Now I want to finesse it up. Okay, let's change the amount of area that it's actually affecting. Okay. Most of these lights are going to be here in the front of the car. That feels pretty natural. It's still pretty bright. Let's bring the brightness down to, let's say, a factor of 4. That feels much better. Still feels pretty bright though, so maybe let's go down to 3. Click on something else. And not much of a difference. Okay, let's step away from the vehicle. Let's see if that feels right. Kinda. The only thing is that we're feeling a little bit of the light on the outside of the vehicle, like it's affecting too much of the area around it. With the light still selected, let's see if we can close the barn doors a little bit. Okay, so now it has the same amount of light, but we are confining it into a smaller area. Let's see if we can. Okay, that feels better. And so a lot of this is just messing around with the settings of the light itself and seeing if there isn't a way to make it feel more natural. Okay, it's also not in the center of the car. These two loops. Go back to our light. Can't select it through the window. Okay. All right. Let's make our camera. Let's actually push play and walk around and see what that looks like. Alright, pretty cool. So now we can see inside the car. That light looks real, and all the lights around the outside of the car feel real. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to pick up from here in the next tutorial. I don't want to make these things too long because there's a lot to cover in lighting. So what we'll do is, so in this one we did the sodium lamps, right? And we saw what we could do with a car if you were able to get one of those car packs. From there, what we'll do is these outside lamps, and we'll look at some of the inside lighting, and we're going to fix what's going on up there with the lights. Okay. So I'll see you in the next tutorial. I hope this was. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye bye.